actually have pancakes for you. At
Or
this point in
popcorn.
time. I understand that you might believe that is false advertising, and I'm okay with that. If you want to head out of here, we're happy to present it.
No, you're stuck now. Shut the doors, Louis.
Oh, we're not sitting. We'll be standing.
Yeah.
We're just
We're
chilling
gonna-
right
yeah,
now.
we're just
do you need
hanging
us,
out.
Do you need us to, like, prime our spots? We can do that.
This is my mark.
Is that better? Can you hear me better now?
I just wanted to send her off.
Sure.
Okay, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Louis.
I'll just keep my feet.
It's fine. I'll just keep sitting.
You do that. I'm gonna push these chairs in like there's somebody else here.
That's perfect.
Yes, we have 2 groups per side.
Yeah,
They can
each
battle it
side.
out.
Yeah,
We should get at
absolutely.
least one self. Yeah,
You know, I might get a little extra with pulling audience stuff. It's so small.
I think that's good. We need to find out who we have.
What's that?
We need to find out who we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, that's what I was thinking. And then I want to see if anybody has a podcast.
If anybody has one.
Yeah, just like as we're going to explain it to know how. I don't think everybody has one. That person I can pick on too.
Yes.
Or we can pick on.
You came here just to advertise your own work. We're happy to do that for you.
Yeah, I mean, what do we do?
What do we do?
We're happy to.
We're happy for it. I know another person. But no, it's actually balancing the room. This is excellent. We have a very even-keeled ship going on.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm glad to see that.
Oh,
I love the door that shuts and then immediately.
no,
Wait.
it's another room captain.
I don't know. Are they trading duties already? They're almost.
Double captain.
You should ask if we have any listeners and be like,
What's that? Do we have any what?
are there any listeners in the audience?
That's a good question.
Do you have the clicker?
You can roll right with that audio.
This is Veteran Friendly, a podcast about what it means to support veterans and military families. Your hosts come from the Office of Military Affairs at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. Joanna DeMott, our military program liaison, is a military spouse and human resources professional, and Melanie Nelson, our military student services liaison, is a military veteran and a military family member, as well as a university instructor. You may contact us at veteranfriendlypodcast@gmail.com with insights about what it means to be veteran friendly. Hi, Joanna. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm usually always great. It's, I can't believe it's 2022.
I know it's 2022, and are you super duper great today because of where we are?
I have mixed feelings about Florida, but I mean, come on, Disney? Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you. We are here. This is happening. It is happening right now. And I'm just picturing the look on our faces as we are talking about ourselves in the future. And we're both making this awkward, cringy, why did we decide to introduce our breakout session this way face?
Yes, it's always terrible to both see yourself in video and hear your own voice on a recording.
It's true, it never gets better. So fair warning to all of you who just came to this because you want to learn how to start your own podcast. It will never get better. And also, we're ready to talk to you live and in person. We're considering this just a live session of our podcast. And that's why we decided to introduce it in this ridiculously meta way. Let's do this.
Well, good morning, and thank you for letting us be cheesy. We were trying to come up with a good way of introducing this, and I'm not sure that did it. But anyway, I'm Melanie, and this is Joanna, and welcome to Pancakes, Popcorn, and Podcast. Again, I hope that you had breakfast already, because, am I not near the mic? What's going on here? Did it get turned off? Mine has a green light. I don't know. Okay. So thank you for joining us. Let's keep rolling. We're going to talk about some creative ways to support, connect, and advocate for military-affiliated students on college campuses.
All right, so this is how we're going to roll through today's program. We'll have an introduction. We'll talk about programming objectives, some of our signature programs, how to make your programming resilient. We'll do some discussion, and we'll have some questions.
This will be interactive. I'm sorry if you haven't caffeinated properly for that yet, so go ahead and drink up. It'll be good.
Before we start, though, where's everybody? We have a small group today, so if you wouldn't mind just yelling out where you're from, and if you're maybe staff or if you're a student, that'd be fantastic.
All right, raise your hand if you're staff. So if
Excellent.
you're staff, raise your hand if you're a student. Wonderful.
Awesome.
Excellent. What else do we want to know?
Where's everybody from?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Vegas, okay. Ohio, so we have some Midwest. Anybody East Coast?
I heard Washington.
Okay.
Greensboro. Oh, hello.
Oh, hey, nice to see you.
Anyone else?
Anyone else want to share?
Is that Indiana? Illinois. Illinois.
Oh,
All right.
Sorry, you probably get mixed up a lot. Yeah, okay.
Nice
Alrighty.
shirts. Love it. All right. We're going to make you talk a lot, so I hope you're ready.
So again, I'm Melanie Nelson, and I'm the Military Student Services Specialist at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. I'm also a Navy veteran, and I come from a Marine Corps family, so, I've been around the block a few times. And this is my podcast co-host and partner in crime, Joanna.
Yeah, so I'm a Marine Corps spouse. My husband retired in 2019, so I spent 23 glorious years traveling around the world with him. I also worked on a general officer staff doing family readiness for his family readiness program. And I'm the military program coordinator and liaison or translator for the University of North Carolina, Wilmington.
So just to orient you a little bit, this is our space. We work in a building called Veterans Hall. We believe it's the only building called Veterans Hall anywhere on a college campus in the United States. Feel free to refute that because we need to validate that soundbite. But this is our lounge area. We have a whole military affairs suite of offices in our College of Health and Human Services building. You can see we've got some of our service dogs. We have a service dog and training program called Paws for People, and they also run a program called Paws for Vets. So there are college students who learn how to train those dogs, and they'll bring the puppies in so we can have a little chill zone, and it's the most wonderful thing in the world. We can just go pet little golden retriever puppies for an hour at a time. It's great. And you can see Veterans Hall there and our happy little Seahawks logo. Do you want to tell them a little bit about Wilmington?
Sure. Has anybody been to Wilmington, North Carolina? Oh, wow. That's more than I thought, actually. What's your favorite thing about Wilmington?
I just like it feels kind of like has like a smaller town vibe to it. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Were you visiting from Camp Swampy?
Yeah, yeah.
Were you visiting from Camp Swampy, from Camp Lejeune?
No,
No.
I was
Okay.
actually from Fort Bragg.
Oh,
okay.
Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah.
Excellent. It is a nice break from Fayetteville. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I've been there, I was stationed in Louisiana, we used to go down to Trader Joe's.
Oh, yeah. Got to go to Trader Joe's.
Yes.
Yeah, so Wilmington's a smaller city. It has that small town vibe. We're also very close to the coast. So I enjoy a home that's 5 miles from the beach. It's really nice. It's a growing city, a big entrepreneur hub or incubator, they like to say, but we enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, and UNCW has about 18,000 students, including our graduate students. We're kind of a traditionally focused campus, so we really prize that in-person, on-campus experience for a lot of our students. But we do work with a lot of transfer students, and we have about 2,300 military affiliates altogether. So because of our proximity to Lejeune and to Fayetteville and Fort Bragg area, but also because we have a Coast Guard station and some National Guard, and there's an Air Force base kind of close by, like we have a little bit of everything in Wilmington. We also have a lot of transplants and a lot of retirees, a lot of military families who drift to the area after they're getting out of the military. And then we do have some active military as well. Would that be better? Hello, can you hear me now? Okay. And so UNCW really has worked hard over the last several years. Our Office of Military Affairs has been around since 2016. So kind of coming up along with all the rest of the Office of Military Affairs, whatever you want to call it, at different universities. But about 13% of our total student population is military affiliated, and that's why we're here. And what we do is, well, let's go on and find our programming objectives. Excellent, okay. So recruitment and retention, obviously, is one thing. We don't want our programming to accomplish a whole lot at one time, right? We want to really focus on just a few key things. So we're not asking a whole lot of it. Recruitment and retention, we want to spotlight our alumni, our community, and our campus resources. We do have a lot of community resources that are focused on veterans and military affairs. We have a Wilmington VA healthcare clinic and lots of other resources around. We want to create and maintain that green zone space of belonging. Again, we're not asking for a whole lot here, right? We just want that to be everywhere on campus, physically and virtually, and in every interaction that anybody ever has around our campus. And we want to expose that hidden curriculum. What's the hidden curriculum? Well, we know that's the things that make life on a college campus bearable and comfortable and happy and exciting if you know what they are, right? And if you don't know what they are, then you feel like you're lost in the sauce, and nobody wants that. Pardon my Navy expressions as I talk about being lost in the sauce. So again, we don't want a whole lot from our programming, except that we really do, right? We want every program to touch something out of these objectives. And hopefully, we're going to multitask with every program so that it's achieving multiple objectives for us. And what we want to talk about is how we do that.
So this is why you came, right? These are some of our signature programs. We've got the podcast, so we'll talk more about our podcast. We have Pancakes, and we have a military-affiliated student orientation.
Quick question, who's here just because you want to learn how to run your own podcast? It's okay, that's fine. We are going to talk about that in just a moment. First, let me give you a little bit of history about how we got into podcasting in the Office of Military Affairs at UNCW. So a couple years ago when I first started working at the university, I've been there for about 3 years, I had a VA work study student who was a communication studies major, and he said, you know what we should do? And I said, we should host a podcast. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. And fortuitously, at that time, the Student Media Association on campus, which was not a military-affiliated organization, right? They were accepting pitches for new podcast shows because they were transitioning their student radio station. College radio is kind of like a big tradition at the institution of higher learning, right? They were transitioning their radio station, which is called Hawkstream. We're the UNCW Seahawks, so they had a cool name, Hawkstream, and they transitioned that to being a podcast platform. So they put out a call for pitches from students. And even though I'm not a student, they let me partner up with my work study student. And they only had space for 5 shows that year. But after they heard our pitch, they said, you know what, we're going to make space for 6 shows because your pitch was so good. And what we wanted to do was simply to give our student veterans a space to tell their story, right? And you'll hear this a lot at NatCon as kind of a theme. What are you doing with your story? How are you presenting it to the world? And we wanted to have an arc of a show that talked about what brought people to UNCW, what they were doing at UNCW, what was igniting their passions, what was catching their attention, what were they doing and what was working really well, and what were they going to do with it in the future? Where were they taking themselves after UNCW? And we kind of pitched it as just a safe space for student veterans to talk about their experiences. And no, there was no profanity. Shockingly enough, we were the only one out of 6 shows that didn't have any profanity. I just like to drop that soundbite in there. Anyway, so I transitioned hosting that show over to the students at one point. And then, you know, the pandemic hit, and we started working from home. UNCW did work from home at first. We went back on campus in part in the fall of 2020, so we have been back on campus for a while. But we have maintained some virtual components. And Joanna and I were looking at each other, and we had kids running around the house behind us, and we needed a way to connect every day. But we also wanted to stay connected to everybody else on campus. So we started a show called Mildly Entertaining at UNCW, because that's all it was. It was mildly entertaining.
Very mild.
It was super mild. I'm going to be real. And the reason we wanted to keep it kind of light and casual was because when we looked at the programming that we were offering, after we have shifted virtually, we were no longer in our lounge space, right? So the one thing that we couldn't offer our students was that mindless background chatter that was so familiar and so comforting and so pleasant while people were chilling, having their lunch, and working on their homework. So we said, let's create some mindless background chatter, which, by the way, is a delightful way to spend your workday. Highly recommend getting the state to sponsor you to do a podcast where you get to just sit and chill and talk to people. But it turned into some really interesting conversations. We were able to broaden our network. It might have taken us 3 to 5 years, honestly, at UNCW with all the work that we have going on, to be able to meet all the people that we were able to meet by hosting a daily podcast. And we did run that one for about 85 episodes. By the time we felt like it had run its course, because we were back on campus and we were no longer talking about pandemic stuff. That was that one. And now we're in veteran friendly. Joanna, do you want to talk about veteran friendly?
Veteran friendly. Sure, yeah. So Melanie mentioned that piece, that networking piece. So what we found so valuable in doing mildly entertaining is the opportunity to not just meet somebody, like you meet somebody here, you might, exchange business cards, something like that. We were able to interview them and see where their heart really was. So we are in our second season right now. We just wrapped our second season. The first season, we interviewed some of our local UNC system schools, their offices of military affairs, to kind of really, why we're here today too, is just to kind of steal ideas. Share best practices,
We're here for you. You're not here for us. Just kidding.
Yeah, so share those best practices, but also to really meet them. We don't get a chance to travel around the state, and especially during COVID, we don't really get a chance to travel that much at all. So that was first season, and that was great. We got to really share some of those and really get to know some of our colleagues. Second season, we looked at employers, and I think there's maybe one in here today that we interviewed, but it's wonderful to try to see. Veteran friendly is kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing. You'll see a lot of veteran friendly versus veteran inclusive stuff here. What we ask these employers at the end of every episode is, what is your definition of veteran friendly? And that's more than just to get what their definition is to really do that temperature check of that culture at that organization to see if they are veteran friendly. So it's been fun. Season 3, we're looking at military spouses. If anybody here would like to be on the podcast, we're happy to have guests. It's really just kind of a fun way to get to know people and to really learn where their heart is when it comes to this military affiliated community.
So why podcasting? It's an auditory medium, right? And so it's an alternative to the text overload. I know that some of you and some of my students, they look at that email inbox, and then they look at all the social media stuff, and then they look at their Canvas, which is our learning platform, and they get completely overwhelmed by all the words, right? So I'm a words person. I don't get overwhelmed by words, but I know that my students do. So I said, what if we were able to share information with them in a different way? And actually, because I send one weekly email a week, I keep it down to one. It's jam-packed with all those bullet points and links to other things. I record that one too. And I just stick a quick 30-second to about a minute recording on there so the students can listen to it on their way in between classes. It just makes it slightly more accessible. But we know that veterans like to get information through their ears, right? Whether you're being yelled at or not, it's, beside the point. But we know that we like to get information through our ears, so why not give the students the information that they're looking for? And it has been really nice to be able to say that we push information that way as well. Podcasting is super flexible, okay? And so when we start to talk about resiliency in programming, obviously, we could record a podcast episode today. Technically, we kind of are.
Right now.
We really are. We're being recorded. It's a cool thing. We could do it from our hotel room. We could do it anywhere. But it's also flexible in terms of, it only takes about a half hour to record, so we can sneak people in whenever their schedules allow. And it's nice because we've been able to interview people as far away as New York or California when we're stuck on the East Coast of Wilmington and not able to travel. So it's one of those things that we can also flex it because we love veteran friendly is actually a very broad concept, right? So we can flex it however we want, and we come up with the idea for the next season as we're recording. So what population do we want to check in on next? How do we think that they're going to interact with the term veteran friendly? And it's just a way for us to continue learning and continue, again, stealing ideas from other people about what they're doing to be veteran friendly. And it is highly shareable. So we get a lot of people reaching out to our office. They say, you're the Office of Military Affairs at UNCW, and we want to support veterans. That's great. I'm so glad that you want to support veterans, right? But I don't have to let you support veterans the way that you want to support veterans if it means giving you access to my student population, right? I want to control that access and protect it so that my students are getting the most valuable resources in our community and in our local region. And so one way that we can protect it is by saying, well, we're interested in learning more about what you do. Why don't you come on our show and let us interview you? And we'll find out more about it, and you can post it to your platform, and then you can share your information wherever. And then it gives us kind of like a buffer so that we can evaluate what they're actually doing, whether we think it's veteran-friendly enough to present to our population, and then bring them in through some of our other programming.
So how, right? Melanie presented this idea to me of doing a podcast, and I said no. I said, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to listen to myself. This is terrible. How are we going to do this? What's the process? I'm a process person. I need to know every single thing. And she said, no, let's just do it. So there were the Mildly Entertaining is on YouTube. We went through some machinations on how to host on platforms. Melanie found anchor.fm. It's completely free. You can record on whatever platform you like. We like Zoom. It just creates that MP4 for you really easily. And then edit with Audacity. Many universities have a free subscription. And if you don't, it's not very expensive.
Oh, Audacity is free, actually. It's open
Look at
open
that.
share software. So yeah, both of these platforms, Anchor.fm and Audacity, are free. We do have Zoom access through our university, but you can also record directly in Anchor.fm if you want to, and they have ways to connect music, sound bites, and things like that. But if you're looking for a way to do it for free, we did actually finally decide to do some research on this. You should always research first, but we just like jumped in at the start of the pandemic, and it worked out really well for us. But like, you know, do your research. And so we checked in. We have a podcasting studio now at our library that students can check out and like go in and use that space. And we talked to the person in our digital maker space, and she recommended Anchor.fm. And once she did that, we were like, oh, this is super simple. I would say the only drawback is that it's Anchor.fm/my name rather than the name of the podcast. It's free. Take what you can get. We set up a quick little Gmail account for it, and we're good to go on that one.
But I would check with your university to see if they have any subscriptions that may not be free to everybody, but are free to your university through subscription.
Check with your library.
Yes.
If you don't hang out at your library, check with your library. They have wonderful resources. Okay? Plug for the library. Fortune favors the bold. This is referring to Joanna's initial reluctance. She was like, no, we're not doing this. I was like, let's hit play, right? Let's hit record and just see what happens. And we did, and it worked out for us. You have to remember, sometimes you just got to try it, you know? Sometimes you host a party and nobody shows up, and that's okay. It doesn't mean nobody likes you. That's what I tell myself anyway. And just remember, no one's listening. No. Is anyone in here actually a listener of Veteran Friendly? See, and we're still standing here. It's totally fine. Nobody in this room listens to our show, and we're okay
Not
with
yet.
that. I mean, maybe you'll listen to it later. You know, we did recently interview the former
Paul Lawrence, he's
Yes.
the former benefits administrator for the VA. But yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty fun show. That was how we wrapped season 2. So we do have some cool stuff on there. But it's okay if you don't listen, because the point is that we're telling the story, right? We're doing the asking, and we're investigating it. And we're sharing that story, and the people who share it, it matters to them, right? When we first started the Military Seahawk podcast, this show focused on students, it didn't really matter whether anybody ever listened to it or not. The point was we gave you a chance to tell your story and to record it. And hey, isn't that kind of cool if you're able to link that on your LinkedIn platform somewhere and say, somebody cared enough about my story to listen to me talk about it for half an hour? Somebody thought I was important enough to share my story and to put it on the internet for all the world to see. Mostly because we know that most of the world is not paying attention to it, right? That like reduces nerves. Sometimes we get guests who are like, oh my gosh, I need a script. And you've got to tell me exactly how to do this. Don't do that. Don't script it. You just want a casual conversation, right? And we just remind them, we're like, we have 3.5 listeners. One of them is my mother. It's fine, you know, it's fine. It goes out locally on our social media, and we don't have that many followers. It's totally cool. Remember, we're not doing this for sponsorships, right? We could eventually, I guess, work out a sponsorship to get some scholarships associated with it. But in the meantime, it's sponsored by the state of North Carolina, because that's who we work for, right? So it's cool. So just remember, if you're nervous about it, or if you're kind of like, I've been thinking about doing this, and I really want to host my own show, I'm just not sure, and you just need that one little push, no one's listening. Just go talk, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So why this food? Why all these P foods here, pancakes, popcorn, PB&J? This is the part of programming that is extremely important, and Melanie has really made sure that in our lounge, this stuff is consistent and reliable. Our students know that on Thursday mornings at 8:30, if they come to the Military Resource Wing, they are going to receive pancakes. We're very sorry we don't have any for you today. I did see the Mickey-shaped waffles, though, pretty nice. It also, if they're not used to our setting, we hope that we want students to come in. We want them to use the resources. We want them to feel comfortable and be in a familiar setting. So if they don't already come in all the time, it makes this setting a little bit more comfortable and familiar. When you share a meal with somebody, that really creates a type of bond that you can't recreate with anything else. And it's easy, right? We want to make sure that there's an ease of access for students and our community partners. We invite everybody to come. And it's easy for us to kind of create that veteran support group too on campus for our faculty and staff. We invite them to come. Anything is open. We also invite different groups to sponsor that breakfast. So if they want to bring fruit, or they want to bring juice, or they want to make PB&J when that's safe and easy and healthy for everybody to do so, we'll do that. But these are the things that are important to consider when you're doing your programming: consistent and reliable, making it comfortable and easy to access.
And so how do we make it consistent and reliable? What do pancakes, popcorn, and PB&J all have in common? Say it with me, they're cheap. Oh man, they're food, yes. They're food,
That's
but
true,
but also they're cheap, right? It's super easy. We got a petite little grant, a few $100s from an organization at the university to be able to buy some pancake griddles and some mixing bowls and stuff. And we set that up in our kitchen. We do have pretty much a full service kitchen in our area. And I just get out there and I flip those pancakes, wear my old ship ball cap, it's a good thing. And it's so cheap, right? We can run to Costco, we can nab a Walmart gift card somewhere if you're having difficulty going through your university's purchasing system, which is a whole other kind of trauma that we're not going to talk about right now. But it's consistent because we can do it consistently. It's super cheap. We're not going through campus catering and buying elaborate breakfasts like the one with the Mickey-shaped waffles every week, right? Same thing, it's also, we know a lot of our student veterans tend to congregate on campus in the morning and up to lunchtime. By the time afternoon hits, unless they've got a class, they're not on campus anymore. So we're not expecting to throw programming at them in the afternoon and have them come. We're gonna target our programming when they're regularly, consistently on campus. And this is also something that, because we work with the total military affiliated population, we never focus just on student veterans. Our dependents are able to come in and hang out with us too, because who doesn't like a nice pancake breakfast? It makes them feel like mom's home cooking. I call myself the military soccer mom. You don't have to do that, but think about it. You know, it's a nice way for people to come in. And then too, if they've passed our litmus test with the podcast interview and they want direct access to students, well, guess what? I have lunch every Wednesday. If you want to come and bring something for lunch, bring a bag of chips to share with everybody, the individual bags, right, COVID. Or if you want to come and serve pancakes, and occasionally we get like a homemade coffee cake. Ooh. Oh man, the American Legion, love them. Come out and bring us a homemade coffee cake and talk with our students. We had a freshman student who's a military dependent whose parents are currently stationed in Okinawa. And we had worked very intensively with them to get them in, and I gave them a direct invitation. I said, come to Pancakes. And the day that she came for Pancakes was the day it was hosted by the dean of the library. And the dean of the library got to talking with her, and as they were talking, she was folding little paper cranes, little tiny mini ones. And she said, you know, we run this series called Crafternoon at the library, and I would love to have you host that. This is a freshman, right, who's getting to run programming because the dean of the library saw her, took an interest in her. We've engineered this little intimate setting, and you know, there we go. There's the connection. That's what we want. An inclusive campus is happening right there because we created the space for it, right? It doesn't have to be a big event. We have kind of a small crowd in here, but you're going to leave here with some ideas and things because we're engineering that for you in a few minutes.
Orientation. So we start, everybody comes in with our website, right? Many schools do that. They have a website. They'll have a specific section for your military affiliated students. Wonderfully, our VA work studies and some of our staff will make pre-orientation phone calls. Those are really important to kind of really get people in the door. Then there's the UNCW orientation, the school's orientation, and Melanie had this really wonderful idea that was executed really well for a military affiliated orientation welcome event. And then we have a welcome back lunch and that first semester phone call. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the welcome event?
Yes, so we were able, during the pandemic, again, UNCW really prioritizes the in-person learning experience and all the in-person activities as much as possible. If you come to UNCW, that's what you're there for, right? So we work within that. And up until the pandemic, we weren't able to do a ton of virtual orientation stuff. We really wanted people to come, get on campus, see the campus, walk around and experience it. During the pandemic, we were able to change that around a little bit, and now we do a really wonderful hybrid orientation where we've got virtual stuff to get our transfer students especially registered for classes as soon as possible. And then they come to our orientation welcome event, and we do feed them, of
Always.
course. There's lemonade and cookies. And we do a little session called UNCW 101 to start breaking down that hidden curriculum, talking about our chain of command and how the Office of Military Affairs fits in and what we can do and what we're able to help them find elsewhere on campus. We bring in lots of campus and community partners to hang out. And we also bring in, of course, our financial people, because that's all that anybody really cares about at that point, right, is getting their finances straight. We get that, so we're going to bring them in. And what we briefed our campus and community partners was, we just want you to talk to students. We just want you to talk to them. When you see them kind of skitter off to the side and they like anxiously pull out their phone because they're like, I don't know anybody here, I'm going to stare at my phone and pretend like I'm looking at something really intriguing, just go up to them and be like, hey, where you from? What you doing? What's your major? What you studying? Oh, have you met our Paws for People service dogs? We do bring the dogs in for orientation, and it's the best thing ever because people do get kind of like, does anybody remember going to orientation and feeling kind of like the stress just ratchets up because you're like, it's happening. The dream is happening. I did it. I served in the military. I got my GI Bill. I'm coming to orientation. We do everything we can to like relax and just, our goal is really, we don't care what information you take away from orientation. We care that you take away a connection, whether you're feeling more connected to the campus or connected to, a friend for the time being. They don't have to be your friend for life, but just somebody you can text that first couple days where you're like, I'm sorry, where did you say that building was again? Because UNCW is a very spread out campus, and you can walk for miles in the wrong direction, and then like you're hot and sweaty, and it's just, 95 degrees on orientation day, guys. Don't do it. Anyway, we also offer a couple of quick focus groups during this session. So one for students who are new to the area. Wilmington is kind of tricky to find your way around at first because it wasn't planned very well as a city. We could go into that another time. But also we have a lot of students who are parents, and combining students who are parents and students with lots of work obligations with this traditional campus environment can be challenging. So we literally put them in a room together. We're like, tell us about your kids. Okay, now find somebody in here who can be your backup babysitter. And I know that's weird during COVID, but you're gonna need it. And then we back away slowly, and we let them take care of themselves, right? And then of course our Student Veterans Organization, we let them come and say hi to everybody. And it's just a nice, calming event. If you were feeling ratcheted up, most people feel pretty calm afterwards. We send them out with a map and say, go find your classroom so you're ready on the first day. And everybody feels chill. And so we follow that with a phone call at sometime during the first semester. And even if somebody doesn't pick up, again, what matters is that we made the call, right? We cared enough to reach out to you. And often when people do pick up, they're like, oh, by the way, I did have a question. And we're like, what were you gonna do with that question? Were you just gonna sit on it for the next 3 months? Like, you could have reached out to us at any point. Just remember, in the future, we're not calling you, you gotta call us, right? We're always here. So this is what we're trying to do. This is why we consider orientation one of our most resilient events. Like, it's a chance to start fostering that sense of personal resiliency that you can take out into campus with you. And then start promoting that green zone concept by having everybody come to us and chill out in Veterans Hall for a little while. They're like, oh yeah, the military people, they're not scary. They're not annoying. Well, Melanie is, but they're not scary people. We can hang out with them. We can work with them, right? And we just keep all the objectives in mind, all of those in play as much as we can.
Question on your orientation welcome event. Is it a one-day event, or do you guys host it multiple times for those new students?
So this particular welcome event is associated with our transfer student orientation. And so depending on the scheduling of that, so transfer orientation is happening today for the spring semester at UNCW, we're not there. So we're doing it the day before classes start. It's just a couple hours in the morning, come in, check in with us, walk around on campus, find your parking place, all of that. And then we do lots of follow-on programming. So the very first day of classes every semester, we have a welcome back lunch. That's a grab and go right now. But come back to the lounge and come check in with us and tell us how your first day is going. The day after that, classes start for us on Wednesday. And the day after that is Thursday. And what do we do on Thursday? Pancakes, right? And then the week after that, I always do our Plan Your Semester workshop. We give free planners out, and we sit down and talk about blocking your schedule and all the things that you're learning how to do, right? But you need a little space and time to do that at the beginning of the semester. And then guess what? By that point, it's Wednesday again. And what do we do on Wednesdays? Peanut butter and jelly. And then it's Thursday, pancakes, right? We have lots of opportunities to bring people back in. And they get reminded about that with our email push and my voice in their ear if they choose to click on the audio recording saying, come have pancakes with me, I really want to serve you pancakes. And anytime somebody comes into our space all throughout the first couple weeks, hey, come back to us, right? All throughout that first semester so that you feel like there's lots of chances to come and get connected. Because the more often you do that, the easier it is for me to actually push you out of the nest and get you out into the rest of campus, which is my goal for retention, right? You can't just hang out with me the whole time. Military soccer mom's gonna boot you out and say, go find someone else to hang out with for a little while.
Yep, so
Great
once in the
question.
fall, once in the spring. So when we look at resilient programming, and I've seen some sessions on that here at NatCon, we're going to look at adversity and the networking piece. We're going to review a little bit of upcoming programs, and then you guys are going to get a chance to brainstorm. So this is your turn. This is your time. We've talked enough at you for right now. If anybody would like to, you could raise your hand and share something, share a best practice or something that you did during, any of these adverse conditions.
We
that
didn't
kept
put
your program
snowstorms
going.
on there.
Yeah, we didn't.
Anybody got snowstorms where they are? Okay.
Ooh.
See, we have ice storms in Wilmington, and they just shut everything down because we can't handle it. So, there may actually be no moisture in the air, but we are going to stay home that day. So we don't really know what to do. That's even worse than a hurricane for us, is a snowstorm.
We'd absolutely love to hear from you, though. Anybody, hurricanes, pandemic, zombie attacks, anyone? No?
Anybody?
If you want to share maybe something you did for your programming to make it a little more resilient.
Who has been to a program at their university? Any kind of program, doesn't have to be military affiliated. Very good, very good. Okay, we're setting the bar low here. Who has been to a program that was really great virtual, in a virtual setting?
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
Awesome.
some of them are really great.
Yes.
Who's been to a really awesome program in person? One, two,
Oh, my
three.
goodness.
Come on, you could raise them a little bit higher. All right. Who's been to a mediocre program that you probably wouldn't recommend and wouldn't want to go to again? Okay, what made it mediocre? What wasn't good about it? It was just kind of blah. Was it the other people there, or was it that you didn't talk to the other people there?
I don't know, there weren't any engaging activities.
We're talking at you, like we're doing right now.
Figure it out.
Ah, yes. Here you go. Figure it out. Yes.
We learned, again, you have to take away the small wins with this pandemic situation. We learned about, it's okay to rebrand things. Find what is going to work now, because your students don't stay the same. And so what worked for 2 years really, really good, new set of group of students coming in, they don't respond to it at all. Okay, we need to look at rebranding this. We need to find a new name. We need to find a new catch to it. And the pandemic made us do that with our workshops. We had to rebrand.
The flexibility,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, sometimes you throw a party that was the best party of the year in times previous, and now no one wants to come. I sat around my lounge for a whole hour after work one day because someone said that grad students wanted a meetup in the evenings. Did anybody come? No, it was raining. The weather will always get you. But sometimes you do. You have to retool and rework, and that's what makes it resilient, right? We know that students still want this information and they still need it in some capacity, but how are we going to get it to them? That's the question. And how are we going to keep it from being so mediocre that nobody wants to come back? Yeah,
It's a tough crowd today.
tough crowd.
Networking, right? That's who's here to network at the NatCon? Yeah, a lot of people here to network. So when we look at networking for our military affiliated students, are you doing something as you're programming, are you doing it, what's in it for me, or what can I do for you? Melanie explains this so well, I love it.
Oh, so there is research that was actually done through UNCW in about 2017 about what helps student veterans get connected to high-impact practices. And one of those things was the what's in it for me, the WIFM, right? If you're going to take an adult learner and try to get them to come and hang out with you at your programming, how do you make it not mediocre? You give them something, right? Today, at the very least, I'm giving you a hand sanitizer. Please take one with you on your way out the door. But also, hopefully, you're going to take away some ideas or some sound bites that will help you with your programming or help you encourage programming at your university. So what's in it for me means what's in it for you, the student, the participant who's coming to this. Also, it means what's in it for me for my campus partners? Well, they get direct access to students. Do you know how fun it is to have someone come up to me after an event and say, I loved this one because I got to talk with students about study abroad opportunities, and we got to have lots of one-on-one conversations, and I think some of them may actually study abroad now. And it's because you created this environment where I could come in and talk to them directly. That's so cool, right? What's in it for me? We don't get to ask what's in it for me. We get to say, what can I do for you? And that's why the podcast works, and that's why our consistent opportunities to come in and host with us work, right? PB&J lunches, Pancakes. I always say, if you have another way that you want to interact with our students, great, let me know about it. But this is what works best for us, so why don't you come and try it our way first, and I'll get you access to our students, and then they have access to you. And then they start asking questions. Even if only a couple of students show up, the connections that they're fostering there really are powerful. And to the earlier point about what we're dealing with students now, we have what we call the lost generation in programming. We actually have like a couple of lost generations at this point, where we expect certain students to be able to step up and start hosting their own programming, right? And particularly student veterans organizations, other student-led organizations to be able to step up and do that. But if you haven't seen it done before, that gets kind of sticky, right? It's a little uncomfortable to be like, I want to go out and host this wonderful event, but I don't even know what my resources are because they were virtual and then they were back and then I don't know what to do with it. So we have to take a couple of steps back and do the baby steps and help people learn how to do these things. And we start by feeding them and by having them come in and talk with us. So what can I do for you? I can give you a chance to access our platform through the podcast and to access our students if we vet you and we think you're good.
If we let you. So what we're going to have you guys do and break up in just a second is kind of review your upcoming programming. And I know we have a lot of students in here. Maybe you are your chapter lead. Review those upcoming programs or events or things that you have going on. Are they accessible? Are they trauma informed? And there's been a bit of talk here at NatCon about that, but we are coming out and maybe not coming out of this pandemic, and there's been a lot of stress on people. Are we taking that into account when we're looking at our programming at our events? And how does it support, connect, and advocate for the students in your community? Everybody here from all over the country, some local, some all over. We got Las Vegas here, we got Washington, D.C. What's going on in your community, and how does it support and connect and advocate for those students with their unique needs? So what we're going to do is, the room is kind of heavily in the back. I don't know if it was...
It was me.
I did take
It's
a
always me.
shower today. I'm not sure,
always
but maybe the gentleman in the green shirt on up here, if you guys want to chat, if you don't have to get any closer, but if you just want to chat, and then the red shirt, the burgundy shirt here, and up, and then the people in the back, if you guys make your own groups. Is that understood? Did I?
We're
say
aiming
that
for like
clearly?
4 groups here. So like
Yeah.
split yourselves up and then kind of work through these concepts. So let's take some ideas, work together. It could be an existing program that you really loved in the before times, or a program that you're like really hoping will work. And just talk with each other about how that program is going to stay resilient in the face of the coming zombie attacks. Okay? And then at the end of your discussion, we'll give you a few minutes, just a couple minutes. We'll come back and maybe you can each group could share something that you've talked about.
Yeah, one
okay?
good program. This is where we steal from you, so make it good. I'm just kidding, yeah. We'll walk around too if you have any questions.
We're doing great. It's off, right? Yeah. I just hit my hands really hard.
going to give you guys about 1 more minute. All right. What I'd love to do is I'll walk around and give each group a mic. So I love that you guys are still talking, and I hope that you continue to talk after NatCon. That would be amazing. This is great networking. So I'm going to start over here with, I'm going to call you guys Group 1, Las Vegas, Illinois. Your spokesperson? You like this? All right.
So, I'm LJ. I'm from Paul Smith's College. It's in the Adirondack Mountains in New York. So we have one of our courses I started to teach is beer making. And usually I have people who, in the Vets Club, I'll have them come in and taste the different beers that my students make, and that's how I grade them. Most of the time, if it's drinkable, you pass. But, the college had that already before I went there. We have a craft brewery minor. And then I just kept making beer and bringing it in for all the teachers and professors. So when the opportunity came up, they said, hey, do you want to teach the class? And it's usually getting the students engaged is the hardest part, because especially younger students straight out of high school, like they'll just sit there and stare at me for 3 classes as I'm trying to explain to them how to make beer. And I'm like, do you have any questions? And they just, like, you can talk, like, I'm teaching you how to make beer here, like, loosen up, relax.
So maybe extra trauma informed given these COVID times. Very nice, very nice. This group? All right.
Mike from Ames Community College, Northern Colorado. Once COVID hit, we decided to do, we have a massive parking lot, so we did a drive-in. So you could stay social distance in your cars if you wanted to, or you could get out, mask up. And it's progressed as the requirements have relaxed a little bit. But it's been more than just a military thing, it's building a whole community and bringing us all in. So, yeah, we sell popcorn, nachos, gift bags for the kids. So depends on the season. We do kind of movies that fit in with the season. So, yeah.
Love it. Drive-ins and food. What? I love it.
Hey y'all, I'm Ariana. I'm from Texas, one of the Alamo colleges, Northeast Lakeview College, and he's from Houston, and he gave us a good idea about bingo on Zoom or in person, and it's affordable. You can print out stuff, and everyone can play bingo. He said it's not a lot of talking. You know, people are always there for the free stuff, so if you want to just pull them in and give them free swag, like he said, that was cool. And at our school, we did a Zoom, not a Zoom, but we had food trucks for veterans or veteran-affiliated students that had like parents that are, you know, military, and free tacos. So if you have the funds to do so, bring a food truck. Maybe they can sponsor, donate, give you half off, and just try to connect with your community like that.
Excellent, thank you. Bingo and food, what could be better? All right, no pressure, no pressure.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Angel from University of Washington. We really didn't come up with anything great, but we did identify that we struggle with consistency, especially in these times, keeping our programs going. But Rhonda did have a great point, and she said anything that's working, make sure you lean on those. So if you have like a robust program around Veterans Day, things like that, make sure you keep those going and use it as a platform to build off of other things.
Thank you, guys. Got some great ideas to steal. Best practices to share. Yes.
I'm just going to hop in here real quick and say, yes, beer making, why does it work? There's a what's in it for me. I get to drink beer. Also, I get a new skill. Also, I might get to find other people who are interested in beer making. Having an activity where somebody's actually doing something. There was a puzzling, extravaganza evening at UNCW. They had tons of jigsaw puzzles out, and it sold out. They had a massive waiting list. They're like, what is happening? It's because you're doing something there with your hands, right? That's exciting. Yes.
Yeah, hold on. We want to get you on mic for this, for sure.
I forgot just before the semester ended, I did a Stress Less with Vets event, and I had dominoes. People loved the dominoes. They couldn't walk past the table without knocking down the dominoes. And I would knock them down and set them up. Sometimes I'd leave the table because it was kind of a static event. And every time I came back, they would set up a different way. But people loved it, and I think that's the what's in it for me. They just love to hit it, and then everybody laughs. It was good. So the puzzling worked. That's cool. That's what I thought. And dominoes are cheap.
Love it. Dominoes are cheap.
I have a couple more ideas. We have a Rubik's Cube. It works the same way as the dominoes. People, they can't keep their grubby little hands off it. That's why we have hand sanitizer, right? Yes, love it. Love the consistency. Love the chances to get in and do something slightly different. And dominoes are familiar, right? Jigsaw puzzles are familiar. It's very fun. The drive-ins, we do that at UNCW too, where again, it's not just for us, right? It's for everybody. Make it convenient and easy and comfortable for everybody. It sounds like you guys really have a good handle on all this, and I am loving it.
So what's the takeaway here? If you feed them, they will come, right? So we want to feed our students programming that's consistent. So we liked hearing this Veterans Day. You have that every year. They know that's coming. That's consistent. We want it accessible. I think that for beer drinking, you might not even have to make it accessible. People will just come. But we want to try to make it accessible, right? And we want to value and show them that they will show up. It's valuable. It has to be valuable to them, that with them, right? If that's really very explicitly stated, they will come.
Also, people bingo. Anybody ever played people bingo? Yes, it's the best. Okay, I'll tell you more about later if you're interested. But if you feed them, they will come. We want you to feed them programming that is comfortable and accessible and consistent. And it sounds like you're doing a good job of that already. So feel free to reach out to us if you want to trade more ideas. We've left our business cards back there. We do have some hand sanitizers for you if you want to grab one of those. We've also put our podcast information on the next slide. Feel free to take a listen. Feel free to reach out if you would like to be featured. If not, that's okay too. We're going to keep doing it whether we have any listeners or not, because that's how we operate. Anything else? Okay. Enjoy the rest of NatCon.
From me, I'm just blood and flesh and bones. I'm not an answer. What do you want from me? Yeah, I'm down when I'm alone. I'm no freelancer. You gotta take